Today on Isolation Nation, Director X, all he happens to be is the greatest music video director ever. He and Drake are magic.
Call me on my cell phone.
The man has directed almost everyone you can name. Plus, speaking of awesome, we got Hayley Wickenheiser. But also, as a tribute to Director X, today's show is all about guys like me and Sean Cullen doing the rap. Hey, Sean, what do you got?
It's a nation in isolation. It's a difficult situation. It's a nation in isolation. Now's a good time to take up masturbation. We got a show with all the guests, and don't you know that our guests are the best? And Michael, he is the host. He's so white, he's like a friendly ghost. And first guest is Hayley Wickenheiser. She's so great you cannot despise her. She's working hard to fight the virus. Every day that woman inspires us. Then we got Director X. He was the one who brings us the sex. Kanye or Jay-Z, he's the only director for me. So it's a nation in isolation. It's a difficult situation. It's a nation in isolation. Now's a good time to take up masturbation. It's a nation in isolation. Uh-oh, I'm out of lubrication. Whoa, whoa.
The rap battle between two ghostly white guys continues. I got some material. Look out, Sean. I'll you up. Oh, how much fun are we having already? Hayley Wickenheiser, Director X is standing by. I can see a smile on his face, which really is the goal for the whole thing. How you doing, Hayley?
I'm good. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I needed that laugh.
Good. And you do need the laugh because you are, there's just so much in your life. There's so much struggle and negativity because of the time we live in, and because the fact that you're a third-year medical student, because you have been in the battleground, and because you have realized that we just don't have enough protection for our healthcare workers. And you started this thing called Conquer COVID-19. How's that going?
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. You know, when I sent out a tweet, it feels like maybe I'm 3 weeks ago now, Michael. Ryan Reynolds amplified it, and then I connected with a really great group of people here in Toronto that has amassed into 100 group of volunteers right across, mostly Ontario, but we've got drives going now in Quebec and Alberta, and one in Ottawa last weekend. So it's been great. We've raised over $2 million. We've procured and distributed about 1.5 million items of PPE across, I think it's over 330 locations across the country now. So but totally just normal people stepping up to do pretty remarkable things.
So how are you doing? I asked you when you and I first started talking. I guess I don't remember how long ago you were on the show. To be honest with you, I have no idea what month or what date it is, what day of the week, because it doesn't really make any difference.
No.
But how are you doing? Because you've thrust yourself into a role that A, is good because you're busy all the time, obviously, but B, yeah. I mean, you see a lot of bad stuff that can really haunt you.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have, like, for me, my outlet of sanity is training and working out, which is what I've done my whole life as an athlete. And, that's what kind of keeps me sane in these times. The fact that the weather's getting nice, get out on the road bike and do that kind of stuff. But it's heavy at times. You hear in basically what we're doing, you hear a lot of stories from people all across the country of the horrors that they're facing going to long-term care homes and not having gowns and gloves and masks, and just the sadness of watching an older generation die in front of our eyes in a way, because we just don't have the protection we need to keep them safe in a lot of regards. So it's hard and it's heavy, but I think the one thing you learn in medicine is you've got to control what you can, and you got to let go of what you can't. And a lot of sick humor and exercise, and having a good group of people to yak with about it helps too.
It's just, though, it's, one of the worst things that I've heard that are just heartbreaking. I mean, we started this show because we thought that people needed, to hear about mental health challenges at this time. And this is for people that may have never experienced anything. But to hear about a woman who was an ER doctor, she ended up taking her own life. And her dad was a doctor, and I saw him on television talking about her, how she just saw too many terrible things, and it haunted her so badly. I mean, that's shocking and tragic and horrible, and I don't even know what to make of that.
Yeah, I saw that story too at I think she was in New York, that woman who was a doctor. You know, that's scary. It's a check-in for someone like myself who wants to work in emergency medicine someday if I ever get through med school with COVID. But, you know, I think part of being in those situations, because I have spent a lot of time in the emergency room, is when bad things happen, you really need to have a support around you, an outlet. You have to figure out what works for you. Like for me, for example, when I see something bad or a bad case, I like to immediately talk about it with the people I was in it with, and then debrief. And I try to like talk about it, think about it on the way home from the shift, and then try to let it go when I wake up the next day. It's not always easy, but I think it can be very heavy. And I can't imagine what those doctors are facing in New York. That's a terrible situation that's gone on, second to probably Italy and Spain. And you know, there's gonna be a lot of struggles coming out of COVID, not just physical, but the mental health fallout.
Oh yeah, there'll be a pandemic of mental health challenges that exist for a long time. I mean, just the amount of addiction that you're going to see. I mean, I hear every day guys on my street will go, "Oh my God, I used to be a 2 beer on the weekend guy, and now I'm drinking 3 drinks a day, and I can't wait to have my first drink." You know, tension and stress and boredom, they all add up to finding ways to feel better, and a lot of people turn for that. So I really fear for the world after the pandemic.
Yeah, I that's my biggest fear as well. I think physically, you know, from a medical standpoint, we are going to get through this. My greater concerns right now are, you know, the economy, the mental health, and just the state of humanity once the economy is allowed to open up again. So I really think one of the things that can help people though is routine, like trying to get yourself in a routine. I find it a struggle, and I'm a person that as an athlete, you grow up with routine. You know, every day someone's telling you what to do and where to be for a long time. And then suddenly you lose that. And so when I retired, I found that a little bit hard that, I don't have a schedule of when to be at the rink today. And it was a struggle. And this reminds me of that time again. And so I find for myself, what I've been able to do is just sort of like literally the night before, the next day, I write down a bit of a schedule of what I want to do the next day and what time, and, you know, just try to stay with it as best you can.
Well, I'll ask you again before you go. I know that you have just a couple more minutes, but I want you to say hi to Director X, Hayley Wickenheiser. We were all chatting beforehand. Meet X.
Nice to meet you, X. I've seen lots of your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you both are pretty visible. You both, when you Google, I'm trying to think of who would get more hits if you Google or you YouTubed the name Director X and the name Hayley Wickenheiser. I don't know, and maybe I'll do it while we're talking here. So, Hayley, I think as a tribute to X, you should probably put the hood up on your.
Oh yeah, sweatshirt. I got I'm living in a hoodie. I got about 500.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. We got a theme going.
You know, all of a sudden now, I'm starting to feel like, I don't know, like I'm feeling it now. This is what I've been missing.
Pull that off.
All my life, I've wondered, why am I not as cool as I could perhaps be? And now I realize, because I wasn't going with the hoodie, even though I wear hoodies every day.
All the time.
You guys call it hoodies out here. When we're from Saskatchewan, we call it a bunny hug. See?
A bunny hug.
A bunny hug, man.
What?
This is. This is a bunny hug.
New sled.
See? I got you.
Okay.
I like it.
And Hayley, when you played, and I mean, you were always the best player on the teams that you played on, and very often the captain. So you would call the music. What music did you? When you were asking for music, what would it be? Keeping in mind I'm one of the best Jewish rappers of my time, of my age group. So go ahead.
Well, we had a dedicated music boss in the room. Her name is Sherry Piper. She controlled all the music for as many years as she played. So there were varied tastes. So anything from country. I liked, like high energy European techno music just for warming up and stuff. But hip hop was always a high favorite on the team. And then there was nothing really slow, but it went from country to hip hop to techno, you name it. Metallica was always in there, AC/DC.
Yeah. I'm going to ask X, do you think she just threw that in just sort of because you're on the show? Because I'm not feeling the connection between hip hop and Saskatchewan. I don't know. What do you think, X?
Don't sleep, baby. Don't sleep. Hip hop is everywhere. We are everywhere.
Yeah. Well,
I was
I don't know if you're in
practicing the Tutti
Saskatchewan.
slide the other day.
So X, why don't
you,
you just briefly, because Hayley's apparently got to get back to seeing patients. Ooh, look at me, I'm so important. Just explain to her briefly what Operation Prefrontal Cortex is, because I was fascinated when I heard that you were going to be on the show. I started following you and I watched your TED Talk and just learning about it. And it's such a unique and fresh way to look at behavior and mental health.
Yeah, so Operation Prefrontal Cortex is an organization that I started with some friends to reduce violence through meditation. So when they've looked at the brains of violent and aggressive people who lash out violently and aggressively, they've noticed that there are some differences in their brain than the average person. The prefrontal cortex, where decision-making happens, is smaller than the average person. And the amygdala, where emotional regulation happens, is bigger than the average person. Now, how you get into a situation where your brain is like this, there's two ways: childhood abuse and neglect and chronic stress. Children that are abused and neglected, their brains develop differently. And when they looked at the brain of these children versus the average, again, the prefrontal cortex was too small and the amygdala was too big. As well, chronic stress changes your brain. It can shrink your prefrontal cortex and enlarge your amygdala. So it's very clear the how you get into someone who again lashes out violently or aggressively. And meditation also changes the brain. Meditation gives volume to your prefrontal cortex and shrinks your amygdala. So it's a very clear reversal of what gets us in this place. And when they've brought meditation into violent communities, violent schools, even one of the most violent prisons in Mexico, the violence levels have dropped drastically. And when you bring it into schools, academic performances rises again. Just so Operation Prefrontal Cortex is working to bring meditation into schools, into community groups, into our correctional system, into the streets themselves, and into the police department. All the first responders actually is where we really want to bring it. And as you're talking about the stress and the trauma that a lot of first responders are going to be going through when this is all over, meditation is one of the tools. Meditation and physical exercise. When you look at things that reverse trauma, meditation and exercise, those things are very much go together. Essentially getting into that zone where, that exercise takes you to, where you forget yourself for a moment, and meditation, these things will help relieve the stress. And when it comes to trauma, it needs to get a little more specific. It's not always so simple, but these are the tools we need to be talking about a lot more and making available, again, especially to our first responders, because they're seeing so much right now.
Hayley, I know you, I'm sure you'd like to jump in and ask him some questions, but I know you got to go, so I have to respect that. Conquer COVID-19 website, Conquer COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, well, first of all, Michael, I just have to say that is an amazing idea, X, because movement is medicine. The prefrontal cortex, that makes complete sense to me from a medical perspective, from an athlete, from just life. So I think what you're doing is awesome. I'm going to check that out and learn more about that. So good on you. That is going to do more than a lot of stuff that's out there. So I just have to say that. And then, good on you. Iconquercovid.ca is the website. People can watch for Friday. We're doing a big t-shirt drop with Ryan Reynolds again and a bunch of other folks. And we're going to try to do one more push to get t-shirts, which all the proceeds go to buying PPE, so we can make one more big buy coming out of Asia and try to distribute it across the country here as we hopefully don't hit the second wave, but we'll be preparing for one anyways. So thanks to everybody out there that supported it so far.
And more to come, Conquercovid19.ca. I know you got to go, Hayley. Thanks a lot. You're the best.
Thanks, Michael. Always great to talk to you. See ya.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you too. That is, well, I mean, there's some people that, first of all, you can just go with first name, Hayley. And second of all, you just, I mean, you don't even have to introduce her. She's pretty amazing. So let's get back to what did you notice how she said the t-shirt drop? Now, is that like an album dropping, or are they actually dropping off t-shirts, X? I'm not sure.
I think it's like an album dropping. The t-shirt drop is like an album drop.
Yeah, maybe she, she decided to up her game, knowing that you were around. So let's talk about how you doing with this crisis that challenges almost all of us in different ways. I mean, there's some things we all have in common, social distancing, but how it affects our life is different for almost everyone. So how has it affected you?
It's a lot, man. I'm finding different things about myself and really working. The one for me really is working to get off the devices, the dopamine rush that we get off of being on social media all the time, or because we're just kind of doing stuff, and that pushing myself towards more creative outlets, studying. I find I go in 2-week phases. Right. For 2 weeks, I might be doing one thing. Then the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be into another. And the next 2 weeks, I'm into another. So, yeah, man, it's interesting times we're in.
It is for sure. I want to come back to Operation Prefrontal Cortex in a second. I want to talk about mental health in your community being the music community, your community being the rap community, your community, being in a lot of ways different than my communities. I mean, we're both Torontonians, but the idea that people have a tough time speaking about mental illness. That is profound all across the world, but it's particularly difficult in some communities. Pick one of yours and tell me what it's like.
Look, in the music side of things, it's not something that comes up very much. Like you said, our culture isn't very tuned in to mental health. You see it happening now, but it feels like more of a buzzword, right? Oh, mental health, but no one really knows how to access that, how to deal with it. So that's a lot of what Operation Prefrontal Cortex is about, being that what meditation, making information available for people about what meditation can do and how it changes the brain, and putting that out there. It's something we're living in interesting times.
When you say meditation, I'm thinking about meditation and all the different kinds of it. Like, so is there a specific protocol that you recommend people to follow? I know you were saying that it has been used in the prison system. It's been used in a lot of places to make a difference where violence, is a huge issue. But for people who maybe are not violent, but have all kinds of mental health challenges, when you say meditation, be specific.
Meditation is good for everybody. It's like eating an apple. It's like a salad. It's just good for you, period. So say you're someone, you don't have issues with aggressive behavior, then it's still going to grow your prefrontal cortex. It's still going to shrink your amygdala. It's still going to give volume to your hippocampus, which is learning and memory. So it's just great benefits for you, regardless of what you're doing. Operation Prefrontal Cortex came about because we have a crisis in Toronto of violence across the board. There's a gun violence crisis. I believe we have a mass violence, kind of random acts of violence we see pop up quite often. And the way to address that, we feel, at least one of the ways we can address it is through meditation. Of course, there's a lot of socioeconomic issues involved in things like this, but this gives us something that we can do. This is a way to address it. For those of us sorry, but like I said, for those of us that are fortunate enough to, not have those issues, meditation still does a lot for you. And especially now, these stressful times, now we need it.
Hey, if you have something that can make a difference in mental health, like I've suffered from anxiety all my life. When I was a kid, there were things that I was afraid of that I never told anyone because I was embarrassed. I was ashamed because nobody else was afraid of the things I was afraid of. And it really, in a lot of ways, it controlled my life. And then I started suffering from depression about 20 years ago. And at different times over the last 20 years, I've kind of felt like my life was over. Not because I was thinking of taking my life, but that was the severity of my loss of the ability to experience joy, which at its core, to me, is what every depression sufferer will feel. If you could show me something that I could do that would make a difference to me in my battle with depression, that was not coming from a bottle, that was not electric shock, then I would be like, oh my gosh, I would be indebted to the person that told me in an emotional way for the rest of my life, because that kind of thing is hard to find.
Well, luckily we live in the age of the internet. Everything's at your fingertips. So it's a Google away. You could get on YouTube and Google meditation for depression, and a bunch of stuff will come up. You could download apps like Headspace or Calm, and they have very specific guided meditations. Again, and you can do it what you need. I need a meditation for motivation. I need a meditation for depression. I need a meditation for trauma. And these things are available to you now. There's a really interesting, cool thing that I have now called the Muse, this thing here, Muse headset. And yeah. You wear this thing and it will record your brain waves as you meditate. And then you can look. And so the one I've been doing, when your brain is active, you hear rain, and when you calm it, you hear birds chirping. So it gets you into this it almost becomes like a meditation video game, which is pretty cool. But again, this stuff is right there for you now. And now we have the time to do it. To find something that works for you. And that's why I say you go on YouTube to try them out, try out a couple, find one that you like. Download a couple apps. Which one do you like? Does the Muse might work? The Muse I find really fun. I'm into it. Maybe Headspace is what works better for you. Maybe all these resources now exist for people to easily get into it. And I know sometimes you just don't think of it, but trust me, a Google away, a YouTube search away is tons of information and guidance, and people that just want to help other people. They're right there, just giving away information.
Right. But what people need is not encouragement, but people need success. They need success stories. If people come across, like I would come across information all the time. I mean, I talk about mental health half my life, but not until I hear somebody say, I tried this and it made a difference to me. Am I going to Google it or click on YouTube or search it out? Because there's so much stuff out there that doesn't do any good. And many of us get so skeptical because there's typically, a lot of stuff you try doesn't work. So you need to hear from someone like you who says, yeah, you know what, it's made a difference in my life.
Oh, look, for me, myself, my calm, the way I handle myself on set, I've definitely seen that change. Look, the reality is, if you meditate every day, your brain will change. It's not even an opinion. If you do push-ups every day, your body's going to change, period, end of story. Well, imagine meditation as push-ups for your brain. If you meditate every day, your brain itself will change. The brain is a muscle, and when you exercise it, this is brain exercise. When you exercise it, it changes for the better, period. It's not a debate. This is what happens. So, success stories, I have kids that have lost brothers to gang violence in Newark, New Jersey. And after about 2 weeks of meditating, they said, I'm calmer now. I'm seeing a difference in how I handle things. And I'm showing my friends. I've had people approach me that said they came out of jail and were on a pathway back to jail or a graveyard. They started meditating. They're a whole new person. So there are people in the world that have dealt with very life and death trauma, the type of stuff that breaks people. And meditation has put them on a path to getting better. And I keep on getting testimonials from kids. Again, since my operation deals in violence, a lot of the people who talk to me about what meditation has done for them, are people who have been dealing with violence in some sort, whether it's around them or themselves. And it changes things because, again, meditation changes the brain. You do push-ups every day, your body's going to change. You meditate every day, a couple times a week, your brain will change. And in that change comes more calm, better decision-making, better memory. It's just a better situation to be in, period.
Operation Prefrontal Cortex. How do people find out more about it? Like, where does it exist? Where does it live?
On Instagram, our page is op.pfc, at op.pfc, or our website is op-pfc.com. And our GoFundMe is gofundme.com/op-pfc. We greatly appreciate any donations because, again, the work we're doing, getting into communities, training community leaders, helping young people, again, this whatever we can to bring this to the people who need it, to really change our city and reduce violence across the board.
You know what I take from this is, and this is, I've got all kinds of shirts with all kinds of slogans on it. And one of them is change is hope. And if you don't change anything, then why would the pain, why would the bad stuff go away, right? So one of the things with crime and one of the things with escalating violence is this feeling of hopelessness. Like how's it ever going to get better? Because it's so big, it's so much bigger than us. And if you say, well, you know what? Why don't we go about it this way? Why don't we take a look at this? That to me is hope, which is something we all desperately need.
Definitely. And look, I'd say this. We have to look at the violence in our city as an individual problem. A lot of the type of solutions we get told in any city anywhere, there are more cops and more this, and they have these big, wide swath programs. And that's good, but it's not addressing that this is an individual. There is an individual acting out and lashing out violently. We have to bring the solution to that individual. We have to become empathetic. We have to stop thinking that, all right, we're going to punish, we got him, and we're going to lock him up, and then we're going to, because it's no, we have to begin looking at people and saying, how'd you get to this place? Why do you feel that the way to solve a problem is attempting to take a life or taking a life? And how can we pull you back? Because it's not the natural state for people to be in. So that's what we're talking about. We need, on our side, our organization, we're looking to work at the individual. There are other people in the world that are looking at the larger, again, there are socioeconomic factors that are very important, that have to be addressed as well. But when it comes to these kinds of things, an individual approach is very, very important. And that is what we are advocating. That's what the program's about, bringing meditation into people's lives, so it can change the way their brain functions and begin to change the regions of the brain that deal in violent and aggressive behavior. So, and give them a chance. Give them a chance to live the life they deserve to live, a happy life where they can achieve goals, live their dreams. And then if we can get them on track, then what that reverberates out for everybody else. You know, a lot of these kids are filled with potential, filled with drive, filled with intelligence, but they've gone down a wrong path. The world that they grew up in didn't give them the opportunities they needed. They've been abused. They've been neglected. They've been stressed. And it's put them in a place that makes it dangerous for them and people around them. And we have to get to them and change things for them. And by doing that work, we change it for everybody else.
You know, I spent some time with a group of homeless folks talking about mental health. And one of the things that was so clear to me was that every single one of them came from a background where there was pain and there was trauma. And it was, and they all suffered from very similar mental health challenges that I have. But because of the supportive environment that I grew up in, because I married a woman who has supported me, my kids have supported me, my parents told me every day when I was a kid that they loved me, I've had the ability to, to deal with this stuff. But I know for a fact that doesn't mean that I'm stronger, I'm better. I just know that means that I've had more blessings in my life than people that I spoke with on that day.
Yeah, it's very important. We have to recognize our privilege, right? And it's a privilege to come up in a loving home, right? These are very important things. Violence and neglect, a lot of it, what we think about this is, and it's understandable, we think about bad neighborhoods, rough neighborhoods, children that have been abused. But neglect is another big part of this. I met with a school trustee who had her cousin murdered in Brampton, and the murderers were all upper middle class kids, right? But they came from homes where they were not given the attention they needed. You have a lot of parents in the suburbs that are so busy working, they're not there to give the children the love they need. And neglect and abuse have the same effect, right? So we've really got to look across the board. This isn't just something that happens in poor neighborhoods. This isn't just something that happens in a way that we can wrap our head around. This is why you have those school shootings in America. And what these kids, they have an Xbox in their room in a 2-car garage. Why would they do this? Because the parents are so busy working, they're not there to give the child that love, right? And so, again, empathy is very important. Empathy for how people get into a situation where they feel that hurting someone else could be a solution to a problem, or hurting someone else could alleviate their own pain, right? And to bring them out of that place, as opposed to just catch them and punish them and then like this and that anger. And I understand revenge is a natural impulse for an animal. Any animal you see, if you do something to it, it's going to snap back at you. But as human beings, we can get to the point where we understand our own behavior and begin to understand why we do things, right? So now it's time for us to understand why we do why are people behaving violently? Why are people behaving aggressively? What is happening in their life, putting them in this place? How can we bring them away from that? Okay. And a big component of that is mindfulness, is meditation, is exercising the brain. We now understand that everyone needs to exercise their body. We understand that across the board. You have to be healthy. At least take a walk. At least get outside and take a walk, right? Well, this is walking your brain. This is exercising your brain. Our brains need exercise the way our bodies need exercise, and the benefits are a calmer, happier, less aggressive world, right? It is a key, and especially now that we're all in our home and we're worrying about when we're going to be able to go outside, and we're worrying about our bills, and we're worrying about work, and we're worrying about our kids, and we're worrying about the entire world. This is a practice that we can do in our home for ourselves, and the changes are amazing. After 8 weeks, they can see the changes in the brain. And in the conversations I've had with people, they felt the difference. And this is, of course, anecdotal, but they felt the difference in 2 weeks. So like, I feel different. I'm approaching the world different, but in 8 weeks, they can definitely see it. That is clear by our ability to look at the brain. We know in 8 weeks, we can see changes in the brain.
This is, this whole show changed directions for me. When you were telling Hayley and all of us what it was that you were doing, because, typically you invite someone to come on a show that you host and you have a plan to take it in a certain direction. And then, I heard the impact of what you're saying and the logic of what you're saying. And it all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this is hope. This is what people need, which is an answer that isn't saying, okay, we're gonna lock you up and throw away the key, because that's our answer, because that'll prevent the next person from doing it. Give me the info again. You got to simplify the all the letters in there for people to find you. It's got to.
I'll give you the.
We're going to work on this.
The website is very easy: www.op-pfc.com.
op-pfc.com.
Yep,
okay.
I'm going to write it down for everybody too on my wonderful iPad here. And
got it here.
That's it.
Yeah, that's bad handwriting too. I'm dyslexic, and writing by hand is really hard for me. Oh, really? That looks terrible. Yeah, it's true. I get letters in the wrong order all the time. If I go into a bank to sign something, I will say to the bank manager, first of all, I'm out of here in 8 minutes. That's all I can stand this environment. It's got to be like the stalest place in the world is the bank. But I will say, look, I need 5 forms. Well, no, you only have to fill it out once. No, I'm going to need 5. Let's see what, OP-TFC.
Not that much better, but we're getting somewhere.
We are.
We all got it. So since we're comparing handwriting.
Yeah. We're, I want Phil, why don't you roll the beats? And I'm going to read you something that I started on this show because I was talking about how my mom passed away about 1.5 years ago. And I was explaining to people the difference between depression and sadness. And my explanation was that my mom dying, thinking about that makes me really sad, but it doesn't make me depressed. They're two very different things. Sadness is an inevitability of life, right? But depression is an illness. So I scribbled down because everything seems to be an acronym or initials. So I thought to myself, can I communicate just with mostly acronyms and initials? So this is kind of what I came up with, and I've been adding to it every day. All right, Phil, will you roll that for me?
Purchase your tracks today.
I don't think that was it. Born with GAD, some ADD, touch of OCD. Parents had a PhD in TLC. OMG, mom's RIP. I'm a POW, all my SRI is MIA. Sending an SOS, going to CVS for my RX. My MD asked me to go PP, said it's BYOB, said he checked for an STD. I said, show me some RESPECT. Try CBT, maybe ECT, needed an EKG for PTSD, got no PMS or PPD, a little worried about some HPV. Ordered some CBD, hope it's COD, use my do-re-mi, get me some KFC, ASAP, learn my ABC, easy as 1, 2, 3. Eating an M&M, coming from H&M, listen to REM, thinking about S&M. Helps my ED, blows like TNT, here's my POV. Hate the NRA and the KKK, my DNA is MIA, cause it's fun to stay at the YMCA.
That's a gutter beat, bro. What are you got? That beat is pretty, wow. That's not the beat selection I would have expected from you.
Well, we're all filled with surprises, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You never know what's under the hood.
Hey, baby, listen, there's a proud tradition of Jewish rap artists, right? From Beastie Boys down to Little Dicky. So you win the game.
Beastie Boys, gosh, it's so sad. I think tomorrow is the anniversary of his death. And
oh, wow.
it just makes me sad every time. I mean, life can just be so sad and so unfair. And but Jewish rap, speaking of rap, like I was telling you that when we started off the record, our goal is to put people in from all walks of life, have a talk show about sports, but more focused on the social, moral, and political issues of sport. So we had tons of rappers on early on, and I got to be buddies with Chaclair, who I have not seen in a while. Maestro, I was telling you that Maestro came to my daughter's bat mitzvah and actually performed there. And you did something with Rascals, right? Yep.
I did Northern Touch, the posse cut.
Yeah, I remember. It was Red One, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I remember. I said to him, "Hey, Red One, I don't know. Do I call you?" His name is Romeo, right? I said, "What do middle-aged white people call you, and what do you think I should call you?" He goes, "Dude, you can call me anything you want." I didn't know Red One or Romeo. I just didn't know.
Yeah, I call him Red. Red, you know what I mean? So it all worked.
You just going through your history and the number of people that you've worked with is pretty staggering. I mean, this is not the typical ass kissing part of the show. I mean, you already did the show, you've been gracious and you've been a gentleman. So it's not like I got to do this, but holy smokes. It's crazy the number of artists that you've been able to touch their lives. I mean, and it started, how old were you in 1997?
97,
when you started.
What was I, 22, maybe? 21 or 22. I mean, I'm not doing the math so quickly, but yeah.
So how do you, at that age, get onto a set and have the confidence to be telling people who bring reputations, right? to the set and success to the set?
I don't know, man. Learning and studying. I found my confidence on set when I was able to speak the language of filmmaking to my crew. That was very important, knowing the business. I think that goes across the board, right? Even for you in broadcasting, I'm sure. When you understood the language of broadcasting, you felt confident having conversations, because it starts with the crew. Before you even get to the people in front of the camera. It's the
So
people
true.
behind the camera that matter so much. So when I started studying and I knew that I could talk to my gaffer about a scrim and talk to my DP about an f-stop and talking about filters and compensations and all these things, then I felt confident leading my set. And then that goes into takes you in front of the camera as well, talking to the talent, because it's all part of it. And it's all to be studied. And again, like I was saying about meditation, there's someone in the world who wants to teach other people about the thing you want to do. And there's books about directing actors. There's books about working with a crew. There's books about film equipment. There's books about cinematography. And I devoured them. Every single one of them. I dived into them, read everything I could. And even now, on YouTube, I have over maybe 200 videos in a playlist that's just about filmmaking, story structure, cinematography, direction, and I have more playlists. I have playlists about acting. I have playlists for multiple things that I can just collect and watch and play and study the craft. In this time right now, if you're ever looking for something to do and you don't feel super motivated, get on YouTube and search how to whatever. There is someone has made videos about that thing you enjoy and how to do it. And you can collect them and play them, and it feels like you're goofing off, but you're not. Because even though I'm watching YouTube and I'm learning. I'm watching YouTube and I'm thinking. I'm getting motivated and inspired.
Wow, I love that story. When you were in school, you went to high school. I read it. Was it Mayfield?
I went to a lot of high schools.
Now, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. He went to a lot of high schools. I'm looking at my wife now. My son basically covered the gamut. He had a full house when it came to going to high schools. So I guess my question is, when you were in high school and you were forced to study stuff that high schools force you to study, did you have this? What were you thinking at the time, and what did you think was your future?
Well, once I got my required credits out of the way, I totally started shaping my high school classes for my interests. I was taking every art class I could, all that. And then I had an aunt who really explained the trick to me. So look, all you have to do is your homework. If you at least want a passing grade, just do the homework. And when she explained that little life hack to me, I just did my homework. And then a little for everyone else, I would get together homework groups and we'd all do our homework together. We just, all right, you do these questions, you do those questions. If the teacher left the room, I'd break apart the reading and we'd all read it together. I've always been a bit of a leader. So we'd organize and get our homework done. So just do the homework and you'll pass. So that's how I graduated, at least doing the homework. And then where I could, I chose classes I was interested in. And if I were now to do it, as I tell my son is 10 now, I say, look, school is brain exercise. Forget even if this is going to be useful in your life. It's exercising your brain. You're doing the work to exercise your brain. When you do this work, your brain does the workout, and those are the real benefits. Forget whether or not you're ever going to need it in life. Right now, you are exercising your brain, and the more you do, the more focused you are, the bigger, better brain you have, because that's actually what's going to be important for the rest of your life, right? So those are the tricks. Find the courses you like, take them. Do your homework because you'll at least pass. And then the last one, your mentality. You're just exercising. This is brain exercise. You know what I'm saying? And there you go, man. Those are my high school life hacks.
Those are they resonate with me in a way that you'd be shocked how much that resonates, and how much I actually remember. And this is, well, I was going to say it's off topic, but I get to choose the topic, so it's not off topic. But I remember thinking to myself, wow, calculus. I was really good at calculus for some reason. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know, 10 years after high school, thinking to myself, why the hell was I taking calculus? Like, what? Nobody uses calculus unless unless you're working at NASA. And I brought that up because I know that you did a documentary where you were there. But unless you do that, it's totally irrelevant in your life. But then I started to think about how it's exercise for your brain. And it's not whether you use it. Like, you don't do curls as a football player to go out on the field and do curls. You do curls so you can be better at your craft and be stronger in your life.
Yeah, completely. I think a lot of it is framing. And if they framed school for us that way from early, we would have approached it different, right? Because how many times you all sat in class and said, why am I doing this? I'm never going to use it. But like you said, the exercises you do in the gym are not anything you ever do out in real life, but it's making your body better. So preparing our young people for the future ahead of them, where the work they're doing in school isn't just preparing them with knowledge, but it's just making a better functioning brain to then go out and do whatever you want to do. Then now, okay, this is different. Okay, I see we can get a little more understanding, right? We gotta, it's maximizing that time in there in a better way.
You are very interesting, man, with quite unique and novel and fresh thoughts. Just remind me as we wrap this up, do I want a bigger amygdala or a smaller one? And do I want a bigger prefrontal cortex or a smaller one? Which one am I trying to work on?
Okay, when you meditate, your prefrontal cortex will gain volume in gray matter. Your amygdala will become smaller, right? Okay. And as well, there's other areas of the brain like the hippocampus, which is learning and memory, that will get bigger as well. So when you meditate, all the places that should be bigger will be bigger, and the places that should be smaller will get smaller. Again, like we said, you got to go take a walk. You got to get some exercise in your life. Well, you have to exercise your brain. You have to do work for your brain. And if for those, a quick caveat, for those who prayer to God's forgiveness, God's love, God's grace also has those benefits. There's a book called How God Changes the Brain. Did a 12-year study of prayer and meditation. And people who pray to God's altruistic attributes have the same benefits of meditation. And the caveat being, people who believe in an angry, judgmental God have the reverse effect. It stresses the brain and damages it. So for whichever way you want to approach this, it's there for you. But it is important, man. Gotta exercise your brain. So if prayer feels better, go pray to God's love. If meditation feels better, find a meditation that works for you, but exercise that brain, man, and it will help you with the stress we're all feeling right now.
op-pfc.com. I'm going to spread the word in any way I can, and I'm going to give it a shot. And I just really was fascinated with the chance to meet you and talk to you. And you know what? It was better than I thought. So thanks for giving us your time, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. There you go for everybody. Am I getting the...
Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you after we wrap this up, but your mic will be dead for a little while. So thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It was great.
Okay, so let's wrap this up and say that coming up on Wednesday and Thursday, I'm guessing you're not a Leaf fan, are you? Are you? You're not a huge sports fan, am I correct?
Excellent. I'm not a huge sports fan, no. But, hey, I rep for my city, baby. So if the Leafs, come on, go Leafs.
Okay. So on Wednesday and Thursday, you may want to watch. We'll see you tomorrow on Isolation Nation. Right now, here's what's coming up on this show. Hey, Riggs, guess who's on the show Wednesday, Thursday? Your favorite Toronto Maple Leaf ever.
Matt Sundin?
No, a current Maple Leaf, not Matt Sundin.
Zach Hyman?
Not Zach Hyman.
Oh, Mitch Marner.
Hey, folks, Michael Landsberg here.
Hey, guys, it's Mitch Marner.
Is he bringing the dog?
I'm here with Wrigley.
I'm here with Zeus.
Okay, Riggs, you know Zeus does tricks, right?
Big deal. The dog can't play defense. Look at this. Falls for the same fake every time.
Down. Roll over. Roll over. Roll over. Good boy.
Okay, I'm impressed. Anything else?
Okay, are you and Zeus got any plans for the near future? Because we want you on the show.
Isolation Nation, baby.
That's me and ML and Mitch and Zeus on Isolation Nation Wednesday and Thursday, where I kick Zeus's ass.
That's a lie.